Welcome everyone to Regine Bridges the Gap live on Fridays. We have a hot topic today. Can Black people be gentrifiers? So, as you know, my name is Regine of Regine Bridges the Gap, and I basically bridge the gap between the African continent and the diaspora and see how we're more similar than we are different. So today, we have two special guests to join us with this conversation. It's going to be so fun. So pull up a drink. I don't have one, but pull up with a drink and enjoy and join in the conversation. So up first, we have Q2 Travel. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Q. I have a platform known as Q2 Travel. I've been traveling for nearly a decade. My travels originally started in Italy. So I was traveling throughout Europe for about 3 years. And then I moved on to Latin America afterwards. And I've been traveling through Latin America for going on about 3 years as well. So I'm super excited to be a part of this conversation because it definitely is a hot topic right now.
It is. It is. And where are you now, if you care to disclose?
Yes, I am in a rural country city in Costa Rica known as Marsella de Venecia. And it's just a very beautiful city with a lot of nature. The locals are very friendly, and I've been enjoying it. It's definitely a kind of a timeout, just in peace and nature.
That's what I need. Ooh, I work in New York City schools.
Right. Concrete jungles.
I need that. Seriously. All right. Thank you so much. Up next, we have Miss Wander.
Yes. Peace and blessings, everyone. My name is Azania Sankofa. I go by Miss Wander 222 on Instagram. And who am I? I'm a traveler. I love to travel. I'm an educator. I've been educating pretty much my entire life. And I decided to just take a break from that and follow my heart, follow my dreams. Because I was one of those teachers who used to just be sitting in the classroom, just daydreaming about all of the places that I wanted to travel to. And I just realized that I needed to stop living that life where I'm just thinking about it and actually do it. So yeah, I've been going places and it's amazing. It's really amazing, so I started a organization website type of thing going on. It's called Forever Tripping Travel, because I'm a wanderer, and I'm always just wandering around my life. So yeah, that's me. I'm gonna stop talking because I could just keep on going. So yeah, peace and blessings, everyone.
No, that is okay. Trust me, and thank you so much for being here. And everyone that is tuning in right now, they have such amazing things going on. Their social media is going to be dropped in the description box. They offer services, clothes, which I'm interested in. You name it, it's all going to be in the description box, and we're also going to talk about it at the end of the show. All the things that we do, because we're all travelers, and we have amazing things for you. But let's go ahead and let's get into this conversation about, can Black people be gentrifiers? Yeah, that's what started. All right, so the first question I have for the both of you, and even myself, is what is a gentrifier? What's gentrification? Because somebody will probably be like, well, what in the world is gentrification? So what is gentrification to you, Azania? Go ahead first.
Oh my goodness, you put me on the spot. So gentrification to me is when we systematically, either voluntarily or involuntarily, we move the natives or the locals of a place out. And it's people from different parts of the city, or rather the country or anywhere, who are living there, raising the cost of living, pushing people out. So I'm gonna stop right there. But yeah, that's what I feel like gentrification is from what I've seen here in New Orleans and Playa del Carmen, Mexico.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Go right ahead. Yep.
Yeah, so I agree with what she said as well. I think that gentrification is definitely a symptom of capitalism and colonization. It is a displacement of locals, basically to move in more profitable projects. And it definitely can be harmful, but I feel like at this point, a lot of it does seem to be inevitable. It's definitely happening globally. And it's a multifaceted conversation for sure.
And I agree. I was just about to say that you pretty much said, because we've had this conversation on TikTok. I believe gentrification is definitely inevitable. And I can't talk right now. But you cannot, you can't avoid gentrification. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, when I was younger, growing up in New York City, gentrification was like all up in your face. You know what I'm saying? Like, your neighborhood was turning into something else. And for the longest, we thought gentrification, as a teeny bopper, we thought gentrification was just white people, white people did that, But mm-hmm. then as I got older, I realized I'm a gentrifier. Damn. Like, I am participating in gentrification in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. So the question now gets a little bit broad. Do you feel like you have participated in gentrification anytime in your travels? Q2, you could go first. Go right ahead.
You said I could go first?
Yeah.
It was breaking a little bit, sorry. Yes, I definitely had to hold myself accountable for the effects that I have basically contributed to gentrification, especially in Mexico. I do feel like it's similar to Hawaii. Like, anybody mm-hmm. traveling to Hawaii is actively contributing to the severities that, the locals are going through there. And it's similar with Mexico. Like, you can go to Mexico to make a difference and to give back, but you also are contributing in the, gentrification. Especially because I don't think that a lot of people are very conscious about all the effects and how they can involuntarily or voluntarily contribute to it. So it's like, if people are ignorant of how they're contributing to it, it's more likely for it to happen.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like, for example, when I was living in Mazatlan, which is a small beach town in Mexico, I saw it firsthand because I was living in a very nice house across the street from the beach, but the locals probably would never be able to afford the same house that I was living in. And even there was problems with the water or electricity, I saw firsthand the tourist areas were prioritized and the locals living outside the tourist bubble were put on the back burner. Even though it was their country and their land, they still didn't have the same resources when it came to getting their water and electricity fixed.
Yep. Azania, what you think?
Oh my gosh, there's so many layers to it. Okay, so first of all, yes, I've directly been involved with gentrification. That's like really, I've never really said that out loud, but yes, definitely. At first, like, I was very naive. Like, when I went to Mexico, I feel like I was part of that group who traveled to Mexico during the COVID time where most of the borders were closed. And I remember people like always talking about, oh, everything's so cheap. It's so cheap to live here. And it wasn't until I was actually in Mexico where I realized, hold on, wait a minute. It's cheap for me, but for the locals here who are making $5 a day, it's not cheap for them, and like, we're just increasing the cost of living, even for other expats who are trying to come in. So yeah, I've definitely been involved. Or like, something else that I noticed, like how I've contributed to gentrification is with tipping or over tipping, because me, I'm sitting here thinking I'm doing them a favor. And it wasn't until I was in Tanzania, my guide, he told me to not over tip or just like hand someone 10,000 shillings, which is less than $5. So for me, it's nothing, but he told me not to do that because then people will resort to panhandling rather than, growing vegetables and fruits to sell on the side of the road. So definitely so many layers to it.
And that goes into the next thing I was going to say, like, what are ways that you can help aid in some type of way? Because for me, just like what you said, listening to locals is definitely like my top priority. Anywhere I go, I always listen to locals. I won't sit here and lie and say that there was a time when I went to Brazil for the first time that I was, the perfect schmurfic. Like, no, I went in like American. Like I did, you know what I'm saying? Like I went in and I made some mistakes, and I'm sure that, I definitely showed my whole American self. Like, but as I've learned, as I've lived out there, as I've been in, Colombia, I've learned to really listen to locals, even listen to what they're not telling you. You know what I'm saying? So like just watch like actions, things like that. And also be involved in the community. I feel like I come from a community where people um, engage in favela culture every day, but they're very silent on what goes on in the favela, if that makes sense. So it's like I think so. Yeah, like the question is, how should people, like, I guess, aid in it, or at least show some type of like, solidarity, or should they even do that? Like, do you think that people should not even have to do that? Like, if they move there, it's their coins, they can do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? So like, what are your thoughts? Anybody can go first. It don't matter.
Well, I would say for me, like on the topic of can Black people be gentrifiers, I definitely believe that they can. While I don't think that Black people mainly have the socioeconomic power to put in laws and policies to basically enable gentrification, I do believe that especially African Americans have the class to aid in gentrification. And when it comes to like lessening the effects, I believe that it starts with your mindset and your intention. There are Black people that, are mass migrating to Mexico or just abroad in general because they're putting themselves first. They're prioritizing themselves, as we should, because we have gone through a lot facing essentially U.S. terrorism, against our race. But I think that when Black people do consider moving abroad, they should also actively be considering how they can give back to the communities that they're moving into.
I agree.
Definitely. And I would say to piggyback off of that, as far as giving back to the community, really trying to learn the culture and the language, and not just live as like a traveler or a tourist, really getting a chance to understand who the people are, their story, their language, the culture, the cuisine, so many different things that I really try to take home when I'm traveling.
I agree. And we're just gonna
like ask is it like cutting out for y'all? I just want to like try to find out
it's
if I'm
glitching
not
a little bit. You glitching
okay, cool.
just a little bit. It's all right though. We can still hear you.
Oh, it's just me. Okay, hold on, wait a minute. Okay, cool.
No, it's breaking up for me too. But yeah, I'm just really trying to pay attention right now.
it's breaking up for me too, but like not on my end. Like more so. But yeah. Like no, I can still hear you. But we just gonna jump right into like, can Black people be gentrifiers? And I think yes.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm Black. You know what I'm saying? I believe I have been a gentrifier. I've also been a victim of gentrification living in New York City, like I've mentioned.
Right.
But I also am a gentrifier, and I believe if I went to another state, like if I went to Atlanta or I went to Miami and I moved to, I don't know, Hialeah or Opa-locka, Miami, I'm a gentrifier, sadly, because those places are underdeveloped. No shade. I've been there. Is anybody from Miami? Like, no shade. I like Hialeah. I think it's cute, but it does have some issues. It's not the greatest area. So if I was to go there, me and a couple of other people that's not from that area, we are gentrifying the area.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, especially here in New York City, Black people, they're like, I'm not a gentrifier, I'm Black. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of are. Like, you don't give back to people in New York City. And you're not saying that you have to. It's up to you. But you don't know what's going on in the areas. Like, you don't know our culture. You know what I'm saying? You don't talk to New York locals. You don't get to know people that's from New York. You only hang out with people that ain't from New York, people that
Right. Other
are,
plants.
I was just about to say that. You're only hanging out with transplants. So if that's all you know, or you hang out with, yeah, you're a gentrifier.
Right. Yeah,
And
I've
even if
always
you're
found
not,
it a
yeah.
yeah. I found it alarming when like black people say like, "Oh, there's no way I can gentrify," because I just feel like in order for us to do better, we have to be knowledgeable. You
Right.
know, like you said, it happens to the best of us. I feel like at one point we all were unaware of the impact that we were having, but we educated ourselves in order to do better. But it's like if there's people moving abroad and refusing to accept that they have an impact, it's like, how are you going to grow from that? How are you going to learn? How are you going to do better? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Azania,
Is it breaking up for her?
it might be. You can hear us?
Yeah, I can hear y'all now.
Oh,
Okay.
I feel
So
like
we
I'm
asked,
my bad.
no worries. We asked the question, can black people be gentrifiers? That's the big question.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, I already admitted to what I was doing,
Uh-huh.
definitely. So yes, us as a collective, definitely. Have any of y'all been to Playa del Carmen?
yes, I've been there. Mhm.
Wait,
Yeah,
I was
where?
they call it like Atlanta, like Mexican Atlanta.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
And
I've
it's
never been there.
like, as much as because I was there for a few weeks and I saw it firsthand, and it's like, as much as I wanted to support, the people, like power to the people, there was black owned businesses popping up, there was black owned events, it was amazing to see, like as a black person, but in the back of my head, I was just like, this is gentrification, like they are moving. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people in Playa del Carmen moved there with not a lot of money, a dollar and a dream. And so that also has effects. Like when you're moving to a country that already doesn't have resources for the natives and you're just, intentionally moving there without the proper resources, you're going to essentially become like a liability. Like you're putting more
Yep.
strain on the economy and, the natives and the government. So like I definitely noticed it in Playa del Carmen as well.
And that goes to my other point. Azania, did you want to say something before I say something?
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Now, people coming from other countries into the US,
Mhm.
can they be gentrifiers? Because what you just said sounds like something that has happened in my old neighborhood, and they weren't white. You know what I'm saying? So like they weren't white and they moved in and all the black people left pretty much. Or like the
Mhm.
black American people left. So, that
Yeah.
goes into conversation. Can they also be gentrified? Because they also say, I'm not a gentrifier. I had to struggle. I was struggling in my country, and but that literally that literally sounds like the same exact thing.
Yeah. So can you repeat the question? You're asking, can it happen within the United States?
Yeah, from other like
Yes.
demographics of people, non-Black Americans, like people from
Yeah.
Jamaica, people from Africa, people from, countries in Africa, people from the Caribbean, Latin America, etc.
Um, like, and you referring to like immigrants coming into the United States or
Uh-huh.
Americans traveling? I
Immigrants,
think
yeah.
that's definitely where it becomes like a multifaceted like conversation,
Yeah.
because especially when you consider how the United States government is a world bully, like the United States government intentionally has displaced economies and countries just to have power over them, and so
Right.
it definitely can get pretty deep, but it's like, especially in regards to Mexico, like the U.S. I was shocked when I first looked at a map and saw how much Mexican land the U.S. stole. Like they stole a
A
lot of
bunch, yeah.
land from Mexico, even in regards to Caribbean islands. And, there's definitely blood on the U.S.'s hands and how they affect other countries and how they have intentionally destabilized entire countries just to have power over those countries. So
Right.
I feel like, it can be complicated, but for the most part, if people from developing countries or third world countries are trying to come into the US for an opportunity after their economy was destabilized, I don't think that it has the same effects. Like, I've never really agreed to the whole concept of like immigrants are stealing our jobs, immigrants are
Mm-hmm.
criminals, like, because like when you really start to dig deep, the US most likely affected their country
Yeah,
negatively in the
yeah.
first place.
Azania, yeah.
Wow. Sis, you said a mouthful. I apologize. I didn't mean to like do the mispronoun thing. I apologize. Sorry.
No, yeah, I'm
I
cool.
don't mind.
I
Like,
her
do you mind
pronoun.
asking like about your
What?
pronouns?
Yeah,
Sorry.
what I will say, what are your pronouns?
Her, they, pretty
Okay.
flexible. So
Great.
I love that. Yeah, you definitely said a mouthful. You touched on so many things. Are you a writer, a blogger, or something like that?
I'm actually launching my blog now,
Okay.
but like
Oh, wow.
yes, thank you. But I would say it's all in my head. I need to get it out of my head. That's the problem.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have a little bit of a different take. Don't hate me. Uh, I still think it's gentrification in some way, sort of form, because the reason why I would say it, not in a sense of, oh, they're stealing my jobs, because honestly, what jobs? You know what I'm saying? Like, I never understood that either. I never agreed with that. Oh, they're stealing our jobs. Like, no, it's no. But I do think when some groups of people do come into a community, they do tend to push out others who are also marginalized. And it don't even have to be U.S. American people that's being pushed out. It could literally be a whole nother immigrant group. I've seen that as well. Where Corona is a perfect example. Corona, at first, it was, I believe it was Puerto Rican and Dominican, and then came in Mexicans. And then they started to leave. You know what I'm saying? So, and now it's Chinese, it's Canton, it's Mandarin. People from that speak Mandarin, Cantonese, basically like Chinese, Malaysian, and a couple of other Asian groups that are moving in now. It will no longer be Corona. I believe in the next probably 10, 15 years, it will no longer probably be Latino, in my opinion.
Corona is a
But
neighborhood in New York City.
yeah.
Okay.
So in my opinion, I think that's gentrification. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because then what happens is you get into discrimination where they don't want you in your house. They don't want you in my building. I want you in my building. I don't want to sell you these things. And it's a lot of discrimination even in the immigrant community, like amongst each other. You know what I'm saying? So like I would still, in my opinion, I would still see it as gentrification because it's not just US kicking black US people out, but it's also, in the internal as well. My whole thing with gentrification is people just being displaced. They're being moved somewhere else and another group is replacing them. That's how I see it.
And I think it's definitely an interesting conversation when we start talking about POC displacing other POC, Black people displacing other Black people. Like, that is something that I wanted to touch about, like the Freedom Project in Liberia. I think that that's a great example of how African Americans, they were returned to Africa, but then they started positioning themselves as the elites, and they started basically a war with the natives. And even to this day, there's a lot of tensions, and the Liberian government is struggling because there's like a huge rift between the African Americans, or the Africano Liberians, I think it's called, and the natives. And it's just been like a long lasting tension because the U.S. government basically funded repatriation to Africa without any, I guess, thought or care to how the natives felt.
I agree.
That's really interesting that you bring that up because a few weeks ago, somebody was saying that Ethiopia is the only country, African country, that has not been colonized. And then somebody came back and said, wait a minute, Liberia hasn't been colonized either. But then there's some controversy about, what is it, the American Colonization Council or something?
Yeah.
That's where, they had to find some type of solution with all of the free Black people. And they just decided to send them to Liberia, which is considered as a colony or something like that. So that's really interesting that you say that, because a lot of people were saying that it wasn't colonized because they didn't displace anybody, or there wasn't any war, pillaging. So I don't know.
Yeah. Based on my research, like when the African Americans got there was definitely wars breaking out. And I feel like African Americans, they just felt discarded, by the US government. And also, a good point is that the Liberians, the natives, had a factor in the slave trade. So there were all these African Americans returning to Africa, but they were scorned because they were looking at the same people because Liberians were kind of like the middleman, they weren't the man, obviously, but they were the middleman. And so there was a lot of tensions because it was like, you benefited from my, pain, my trauma of being sold into chattel slavery. And I think it's also a great example of how, if you're not careful, like if you don't do the work to decolonize and heal, you can become the oppressor.
Yep.
Because African Americans, they became the oppressor. They started using the oppressor's tools when they returned to Africa and started looking at the natives as essentially second-class citizens.
Yep. I agree. And honestly, that goes into my next point. You can't avoid gentrification. It's going to happen. People are going to move. They're going to move around, whether it's for a better life, quality of life, refugee, whatever the case is, people are going to move. But how can we make sure that we are not stepping on toes, kicking people out, just like completely changing the entire culture of the area? Because I feel like gentrification, like you said, is you just can't avoid it. It's been going on for years. Before Brooklyn was black, it was Italian, it was white. Now it's that. Now it's going backwards. Now it's going back to Middle America white, which is that's a different story for another day. So but that's what happens. You know what I'm saying? It starts, neighborhoods change, places change. But how can we all coexist? What do you think is a way we can coexist? Someone who's coming in with probably a lot more privilege or a different lens, whatever the case is, how can we all, what do you think are ways we all can coexist together and build a great neighborhood blended with us all in there with different experiences?
Great question.
Anybody can go. Don't all go at once.
I don't want to hear what I have to say, so I'm going to keep it to myself. Yeah, no. We ain't doing no coexisting. No.
So do you think people should...
complicated because we have people, European Americans who are moving to New Orleans,
right?
And they're calling the police if there's a brass band playing on the corner.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I know.
It's crazy because that's what New Orleans is known for: live music, late at night.
Yep.
It's like we have people who are moving in and trying to change the culture of New Orleans.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. That I agree. Yeah. I agree with what you're saying about that. But what I meant was, because they're going to come, we cannot kick these people out. I mean, we could try, but we can't.
They're buying homes. They got money, so it's a little bit complicated. And a lot of people are selling their grandmother's homes. We don't own property, so it's hard for us to anchor in a place.
And then you have people that are in these neighborhoods that are, like you said, are selling their homes, and they don't care. I've seen it. I've seen it in Brooklyn. I've seen it in South Carolina. They don't care.
I don't know if y'all are in
$50K. I've seen people sell they brownstone. I'm not lying. If I'm lying, I'm flying. I've seen people sell their brownstone for $3,000.
No, come on. In Brooklyn? Wow, that's crazy.
$3,000 because they just don't care, and it's drug addicts. So if you they in the house, it was grandma, she died. So if they don't know what they don't care, they don't know what they have. They don't know, like, whole
Yeah.
house. So
I
like,
think
why
that
would you do
also
that?
ties into like a bigger conversation of how like you need to have certain laws and policies in place in order to properly gentrify. Like when Black people sell their properties, like I don't know if y'all watch P Valley, but it's going
Yes,
on
I
in P
do.
Valley where he's basically losing his property, you
Yep.
know.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Oh,
I,
my bad. Spoiler alert. Yeah. But like that was season 1. He been fighting that since season 1.
yes,
But
I know.
but yeah. So like
Yep.
it definitely happens where it's like there's people of color, Black people that are already like disadvantaged, you know, economically, and then the big corporations are coming in and, you know, using their muscle and their power, the laws and the policies to basically be predators, you
Right.
know. So it's like it definitely is a trickle down, and like I said, I think that it is mainly rooted in colonization.
Right.
So I feel like a bigger conversation is like, how would we be able to band together to support each other or to help educate each other of like the effects of gentrification? Um, and even when like you're moving, like for example, if I were to move to another area, I think it definitely comes down to intention and the mindset of like, how can I give back? You know,
Right.
learning the local language. Like the other guest was talking about the people, the transplants complaining about the music. I saw the same thing happening in Belize. You know, I was staying on a property of these white Americans. They had moved there. They had built a property. You know, they had built 3 little tiny houses. They were charging like $1,000 a month, but they would complain about the locals
A
playing
thousand US dollar?
$1,000 a
No,
month
they
for these little
wasn't.
tiny houses they built, like through Airbnb. Yeah, but they were complaining about the locals playing drums. And it's like you're moving to Belize.
See,
You started.
this is
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. Like, we cannot by law kick them out. We
Mm-hmm.
can't. Unless everybody burn their house down. But like, and then we all go to jail. But my thing is, it's like, that's why I mentioned the word coexist. Not so much coexist in a way like, let's band together, but it's more like, they already here. Like, what we gonna do? Like, I'm like, we can't kick
Yeah.
them out. You know, even in Bed-Stuy, I've seen them. They have book clubs solely for white children. Bed-Stuy,
Yeah.
Bed-Stuy, Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Do they
Like,
explicitly say that?
oh
Only
no,
for
you know they can't say
Or it's
that.
heavily implied.
They
Yeah.
can't say that. They just look at your child and be like, we full. But another child will come in. Oh yeah, they can come in.
Right. And it's like, I just feel like when people have that audacity and that attitude, it's like you said, they're already there. And in order to remove them, it's going to take a full on revolution. So, is there any really way to coexist with someone who is resistant to even being open to the local cultures? You know, other
exactly.
than just
That is
stopping it,
true.
other than stopping the cycle and stopping it from happening again.
You're right. That's why I'm like, what do we do? Like, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, what happens? Like, what's next? You know?
Right.
And honestly, that goes into hold on, my phone is dying. That goes into my next question. People that specifically move into like the hood to I guess do whatever it is that they're doing. I don't know what it is that they're doing, but like, how do you feel about that? Like, people that specifically want to live in the hood, like they're like, I want to live in the hood. Like, I want to live in the hood. I want to live here. It's not because they have to. Like, for me, I lived in the favela because I had to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
I literally had no choice because Rio is like New York. It's prices.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. So, like, you know, how do y'all feel about people like that who just want to live in the hood, just want that hood experience, and, you know, open up? Asani.
Looks like she got a lot to say.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Well, I found out that I was living in the hood of Mexico but it was in the process of being gentrified, like very slowly. All of these condos and high rises. I was right on Quinta Avenida. It's the famous thoroughfare of Playa del Carmen. It's kind of like Bourbon Street and maybe,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like all mixed in one. And yeah, I had an apartment like right on Quinta Avenida, ocean view, but it was in a town called Colosio. Um, they said back in like the 80s and 90s, Colosio was a place that you would not want to be in at all. And they said still now, like it's very unsafe. Playa del Carmen is unsafe, but they hide all of that from the news. They hide everything. But there's a website, actually it's a Facebook page where they post everything. You know, it's like a war zone out there. But anyway, they hide that from the expats. But anyway, so yeah, I had no idea I was living in what a lot of people considered as the hood or the ghetto or a very unsafe, like you don't want to be there or why are you living there? You know, but it was a beautiful apartment. It was beautiful, it was gorgeous. You know, but yeah, it was in the process of being gentrified. Like there was times where I
Yeah.
would just come outside and it's just Europeans everywhere. And it wouldn't even feel like I'm in Mexico. And I'm just like, it's too many people. And that's when I realized I need to be in a different part of I need to get out of Mexico.
Yeah,
Because there's
Oh
too
my
many,
goodness.
there's so many. And
definitely.
yeah, you see a lot of crazy things there in Playa del Carmen. Like with the animals, they have jaguars and tigers and their cubs. And the only reason why they keep doing that is because of people traveling from all over the world or living there who continue to pay for that. You know, you have kids, little kids, they're like 2, 3 years old, selling bracelets, walking around by themselves. And it's just like, where are your parents?
Yeah.
Oh
It's a
my
lot.
goodness.
When I first came to Mexico, I used to just tip everybody. Like my money used to just be flying out of my pocket. It was crazy. You know, it only attracted more people who wanted more money from me. So I just realized like this isn't sustainable, you know, me just giving out my money because it's not teaching them to, you know, be autonomous and be able to, you know, take care of themselves without begging for money. So yeah, I had to stop doing that real quick. But those are just some of the things that I did that I had to change when I realized, wait a minute, this I shouldn't be doing this. You know, walking
Mm.
around Colombia, like just tipping everybody. Like I just want to help. And like that's not no, no. I
Yeah.
learned very quickly that that wasn't effective. But yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. Especially in the Tulum area, I saw it firsthand. Like it's just, and I just feel like, you know, nobody really wants to say it, but there's like a lot of natives that are also contributing to the problem.
I
So it's
was just
like,
about to say
you
that.
know, it's
Please
just like
elaborate. I want to know.
in Tulum, like, you know, it's the Mexicans that are building up, you know, the places. It's the Mexicans that are investing. And
I was
obviously there's
just
foreign investors as well. But in Tulum, especially, you can see that, you know, they're being victimized by their own people because greed is global, you know, it's a human thing. And it's just like, what do you really do when, you know, you don't even, I'm not fluent in Spanish. I don't have any political power. You know, the only thing that I can do is just not travel, which that's, you know, something to consider as well. But, you know, what do you really do when you see the people hurting themselves, you know, and further disadvantaging like
I've
themselves?
seen that. I've definitely seen that, and that also goes into like another thing. So like the people of the area will want it. Like I was even asked to buy property somewhere.
Mm,
It was like, you should buy property, you should do this because we
right,
need this. And now that's the next thing, because people be like, we need this in our neighborhood. Can you do
right.
this? Can you do da 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 da? And I'm like, I mean, I was like, I don't mind doing it, but I'm
Mm,
like, then I'm pricing y'all out eventually
What
after a
country were you
while. If I open this beauty shop, because that's what they want.
in?
Like if I open this beauty
right.
shop, that's that means everything around me is gonna start changing. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And
Were you in
huh?
Colombia?
No, Brazil,
It was in
Bahia.
Brazil. Mm.
But Colombia, they was asking too. The Colombia, honestly, that is a top question that I always get anytime that I am dancing, because a lot of dancers live in the hood. Anywhere that I go, any country I go to, majority of them live in impoverished areas, or they live in a middle class area. And they're always, when I meet other dancers, they're like, yo, can you build this here? You should bring this here. Bring it here because we need it. We don't have it. And I'm like, I understand that, but I'm like, if I do that, the area is going to change. Are you ready for that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be probably bringing in a different clientele because I'm able to exit this area, whereas you're not always exiting the area. I'm exiting the area, meeting people that are like, well, what is this place that you have? I want to come see it. Then they come in and the next day, I don't, spoiler alert, who's seen Atlanta?
Me.
When the
yes.
guy,
Love that
when
show.
the guy took
Just
her
the first season.
To the Nigerian restaurant?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes.
Yo, he was.
You see what I'm saying? So me as someone, they're like, oh my goodness, Reggie, she's so amazing. She's for the people. She's for the favela. She's for, she's, Black power. Like they literally said, but I'm like, y'all don't understand. I can literally meet an op. Yeah. And I don't even know they're op. And they come in and then the next day, they got a beauty supply store down the block too.
Yeah.
So when I come in, or when someone else comes in, that is a foreigner, or we change the neighborhood. We really do. All it takes is one.
Right.
It takes one, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen, and Atlanta proved it. Because he took homegirl to go get some egusi soup, and sis was over here like, oh my god, I just bought the place. You took me here. It was so great. I just bought it.
Yeah. Wow.
What? Like, girl.
Yeah, especially all it takes is one person with a social media platform.
That's
that
what
could
I'm
turn
saying.
into 500,000 people, scoping out the area, just trying to see how they can fit in, Yeah.
I was like, I don't mind.
Happen.
Like, I don't mind having a property, but you really have to let people know. And they're like, I don't care, bring them in here because it's gonna be work for us. I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
That's what somebody did on Atlanta. They said, let me come, let her taste some of this goosey soup.
She bought the whole building?
She bought the whole thing and then turned it into a food truck.
Yeah, and then that's definitely a conversation that needs to be had, because it's just like, I feel like a lot of tourist destinations, the natives don't even have an option as to whether it become a tourist destination, because investors are just moving in, and it's like they become dependent on the income, and they are basically forced to assimilate, into basically an Americanized version of their culture that they never asked to really share.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. And I think a lot of locals, like you were saying, a lot of people just aren't informed. So they may be looking at step one of okay, you're bringing in more money for our communities, but they're not looking at step 10, 10, 20, 30 years later, when they're being pushed out of their same communities.
That's what I be trying to say. I'm like, and they're like, yeah, we'll help you. I'm like, look, then you got to be ready for whatever comes next.
Yeah. And you got to be ready to pay them cartel bills. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, no, I know that's off topic, but that's talk for another day. That is because you do have to pay that debt. You have to pay that tax.
Wow.
Luckily for me, I'm a woman, so it's a little bit different for me.
Oh,
but if I was a dude, conversation for another day. And that might be a private conversation because I don't want to put nobody in danger. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, you definitely have to pay them.
They will come knocking for them taxes.
They sure will.
Yeah.
They sure will. Mm-hmm. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap up. So, before we wrap up, we got two things we're going to wrap up with. One is, what is something you would tell someone who's just dipping their feet into traveling, or just dipping their feet into digital nomadness, or whatever the case is, and they want to stay somewhere and they want to go to Tulum and they want to maybe live out there, which I encourage, go ahead, do. But what advice would you give someone who wants to dip their toes in the digital nomad life or living abroad, especially in countries where they are still developing. Anybody can go first. Go right ahead and give your quick answer.
Miss Wonder, if you'd like to go first.
I knew I was going to do this. Okay, cool. It's great because I was just thinking about my answer. I would say to learn skills that you can carry with you. Either it's jewelry making, specifically working on the computer, writing, editing, social media management, photography. There's so many things that you can do online. There's so many remote jobs and positions, LinkedIn, Indeed. Like, so really focus on finding different ways to make money online. That's my first thing. Save up your money. Don't just like quit your job and like jump into it. Follow your heart. Read the book, The Alchemist. Paulo Coelho. He's like Portuguese or something like that. Read that, and you'll learn about following your heart. Do astrocartography to think about the places that you want to go that will sync up with your birth time and all that other stuff, and the stars and the moon. Yeah, definitely. That's all I can say. It had to be short, right?
So right, no, I was laughing because
I thought it was that face. Travel. I didn't know it was cute. I don't know, like my brain.
You're not the first one to say QT. Yeah, so it's definitely. I think it's just too close together.
I was like, I don't see that, but then I was like, oh, I can see it now. Cute.
Yeah. But I think for me, I would definitely say that the digital nomad lifestyle is a great lifestyle to live, but I think it's important to understand that travel does not have a neutral impact. Living abroad does not have a neutral impact. And if you like, obviously it's your right to enjoy other cultures, immerse yourself in other cultures. But I think it's also important to understand that you have to actively work to neutralize your impact and like reduce the negative effects that your travel or your, income may have to displace the natives, like basically learning the local language, and just being aware. I think just so much can be changed and like bettered by being aware in education.
I agree. And honestly, y'all both really honestly answered my own question. Because I was gonna give an answer, but I was like, they both said what I wanted to say anyway. Look for online jobs because I still am, honey, because I don't know what happened. We hit those down seasons sometimes. That's another thing. Oh, that's one. Be prepared to hit a down season. If you are, or let's say you're already out there, you may hit a down season. You may hit a dry season. Don't give up. Don't, I don't know. Just don't give in, which is what I'm saying. And definitely, be aware of locals, like, be aware of like what's going on in your area. Read the room, reading the room. I say to my students all the time, read the room, read the room, like read the climate of the area. Like if that's what they're doing, that's what you're supposed to do. Like don't say, oh, I'm gonna be horrible, I'm gonna do what I want. This is not where you from. That's one. This is not where you from. So respect what they do there. And that is my tips because they already said all the tips already. So I want to thank y'all so much. Go ahead and one by one tell us your services, what you're doing, what's your upcoming projects, and we're gonna go ahead and close out. Go right ahead. Whoever projects, what you're selling, what you're doing, and yeah.
All right. So my name is Azania Sankofa, Miss Wander 22222. Wait, it's just 4 tools. Anyway, so right now I'm working on some tours that'll be coming up in Africa. I'm a cultural exchange coordinator, specifically focusing on West Africa and East Africa. I have a website. It's called forevertrippingtravel.com. It's kind of long, but if you just go on my Instagram, you'll see the link there. I'm working on starting up a NPO, nonprofit organization. Y'all watched Atlanta, right? Okay.
Yes.
So spoke to me. I'm just like, I need to get this together because I was working for a nonprofit organization and like they paid for everything for me to go to Tanzania. They probably gonna watch this. Hi y'all. I'm still here. I ain't mad. Okay, but anyway, yeah, listen, the whole gentrification thing, like the European Americans were there and they were just like, it was almost as if like they want the Tanzanians to be docile and Americanize the Tanzanian culture just to make them comfortable. You know what I mean? Like mad. They was mad because, me, I go to a place, I want to be immersed. I'm going to speak the language, no matter how butchered it sounds. And they were like, they felt some kind of way. You know what I mean? Because I was in Africa, and I feel like for the first time in their lives, like people weren't obsessed with them and rolling out the red carpet for them. It was for a Black American that they were just like, oh my goodness, who is she?
Right.
Okay. I'm not sure how oh yeah, the nonprofit organization. Yeah. So, and that was a remote job too, you know, but anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. And take it away. Travel, Q2 travel.
Yes. So I am actually working on a few projects. I'm working on launching my podcast, which is going to be known as Traveling Trans, highlighting LGBTQ plus travel experiences and just lifestyle and nomad experiences in general. I also just launched my website, breakthebinary.net. That I'm also going to have my blog on there. So I have a lot of exciting projects that I'm working on now. I'm also going to start making travel guides. And it's Q2 Travel on Instagram, YouTube. I'm most active on TikTok, Instagram. I'm, the second, and then YouTube. I'm working on the YouTube. It's a work in progress. YouTube takes a lot of time and energy, but I'm working on the YouTube. So,
well, welcome to YouTube. Welcome.
Super excited for my projects, and I'm glad that you invited me on here. I'm honored to be on here.
I want to thank y'all so much for being on here, and for everybody watching. Yes, my name is Regine Bridges the Gap. Basically, currently, I have a Bahia retreat coming up in March, and you'll be learning Orisha's dance, capoeira, etc., all that great stuff. So, yes, make sure you sign up. Send me an email. Send me an email if you're interested.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be in Brazil?
Yes, it is Bahia.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you'll be learning from the best, like Orisha's dance. And yeah, that's basically it. This is going to be my first retreat, y'all. My first.
That's awesome. Because I think I'm definitely going to be in South America around that time. So I may be close to Brazil.
So come through to Bahia. I would love for you to make your way. I would love for you to make your way to Brazil. I would love for you to make your way to Brazil. You too, Isaiah. Come on to Brazil. Just come hang out. Like, live your best life. This was so fun, y'all. I want to thank y'all so much for being on here.
Very enlightening conversation that needs to be had.
It needed to be had, and there's so many more conversations to be had. We'll be back again, everyone. I know we haven't done Regine Bridges Gap Friday Live in a minute, so welcome back. We are in a brand new month, August, and I'm going to try my best to keep the lives going every Friday. It can't be every Friday, but anyway, I love y'all so much. Thank you so much for being here, and have a good night.
All right.